That time was very hard to accept because whatever you think you're doing is right. You've done nothing wrong. Until today also, I've done nothing wrong. I could have handled myself better. Some of the Japanese chefs, who do sushi, the real traditional ones, they have to go through many years of apprenticeship before they even get to touch a sushi rice or even make the rice. For me, when I go and eat out in other restaurants, I never critique. Even when I don't write anything online, nothing. I'll keep quiet.
So that's where it leads to the next question. So when you work with multiple restaurants, how do you manage and prioritize every aspect of your restaurant business?
Okay, so from branding perspective, DC will always be the top of the line.
Okay.
Because this is still HQ and this is where the main asset value of the entire business is. Other business entities or different restaurant concepts have different margins output. They have different perception to the market. But at the end of the day, it's important to brand it still under Darren Chin. Be it is DC or be fine dining or be it is Guy, which our latest entity is, for this Thai-inspired restaurant, or be it Breath, for example, our second sister restaurant, which operates, with a much more casual fare and a lot more affordability. So each restaurant must have a reason to eat and a story to tell. And hopefully the public gets it. So in order to maintain that kind of standard, we need to understand the calculated risk that's involved.
Yep.
In terms of what is being perceived and what is being delivered at the same time.
Agreed.
So if a person thinks that they go and get a Darren Chin product, they expect the best of the best of the best, then they go to DC. Because that's what they're paying for.
Yep.
But if they expect having Thai food under Darren Chin becomes the brand, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best of the best of the best.
Yes.
So in mind, I accept to myself that is the calculated risk that I need to accept to myself first. After that, we need to manage the customer's expectations. So if they pay a fried rice for 50 ringgit, for example, I will need to make sure that he feels the value in it. Even though I don't cook the food. So it could be somebody else cooking the food. We QC the recipe or we QC the so-called SOP, that it has to be consistent. It cannot be today salty, today spicy, the next day is a different thing altogether. But it has to be consistent. How do we establish that recipe that is in terms of that general point of view? The Darren Chin DNA.
All right.
So the DNA resonates where HQ is, which is here. So the development of new recipes, the development of taste, the solidification of taste and acceptability of the product and so forth. Of course, we cannot satisfy all palates. Every palate has different things in terms of spiciness, in terms of saltiness. But at the end of the day, if we manage to establish that acceptability, and this way we get consistency. And all you have to do is to deliver the product of a certain consistent level. And from there, you just build on the brand. You can even do expansion. You can do multiples. You can do, you can hire more staff. You can hire more managers, and so forth. But the concept of it has already been set already. So of course, these things take time.
Of course.
It takes time to develop. But you can see it already from there. I mean, from an outsider point of view, you can see that the establishment of the businesses are built for long term. They're built for growth. Before I forget, there's one more thing. It's very important to listen to the customer.
Yes.
So the customer, when they give advice or when they give feedback, when they give like constructive feedback, and things like that, have to take it in good stride because there must be a reason why they want to voice out. Or similarly, they will take time and fill up a feedback form, you know, they'll tell you why. Of course, there are certain hits and misses, you know, there's not, hit and misses means in terms of their opinions against your product. But at the end of the day, I look at it as two positive things. First, not to be overly defensive of your food.
Agreed.
And secondly, you use that, and if you can convert that into, be it a complaint or feedback, right, into them accepting your answer, and you can actually convert them as a very loyal customer that will always support any entity that you have, because it's more of like anyway got fried rice, but why do I need to order the fried rice from this restaurant, you see?
Right.
So there's so many other reasons involved. So this is different avenues of thinking. It's not to stereotype or stigmatize, you know, certain things. You know, it's like, oh, you know, somebody said my fried rice is not nice, not worth $48. I can always think, no lah, you eat lah, you don't eat lah. You know, I mean, that's very naturally lah for people to react, but I look at it differently. No, for me, I'll ask why. I said, what do you think we can do to improve? You know, and then we'll take things in good stride lah, you know, and use this as information first.
Just lower down the ego. Okay, open up, okay, and listen. I mean, I always believe, okay, that you know, if a customer willing to voice up, better than they keep quiet, you know.
Oh, those are more dangerous. Yes. Like for me, but it's my own professional standing lah. Like for me, when I go and eat out in other restaurants, I never critique. Even when I don't write anything online, nothing. If I don't like it,
even if you feel, okay, let's say example, the fish is actually like slightly overcooked,
yeah,
you will keep quiet.
I'll keep quiet.
Oh.
Not unless there is something really, really wrong with the dish,
Okay.
then I will, you know, tell the person that, hey, you know, maybe you should change this or whatever, like, you know. But things which are acceptable, you know, irregardless of how much you paid for or whatever it is, you know. Because I always put myself in other people's shoes, and it's only fair lah, you know, that we don't make things more difficult than what it's supposed to be.
Alright.
And I don't know, this is my own beliefs, you know, my own personal beliefs, and somehow or other my own personal beliefs resonates through all my restaurants that I have. All the staff with me also resonates this message. In a roundabout way, this kind of like answers the question, like, you know, how do you maintain quality within all different restaurants? It could be cafe, it could be Thai, it could be any other restaurant, but this working environment is not easy, because when I'm working, you know, the execution part is real. Means it's like, it's not something which we muck about, you know, it's very serious operation lah, you know, but the underlying plan is actually as such. Like, why do you push yourself? Why do you take in particular certain things, you know?
Okay.
Important lah, that everyone that's delivering this understands it.
Cool. So, very simple questions. What makes a good chef?
Technique.
Technique.
Yes. Technique and experience. These two things. There's no fast way about it. The more you do it, the better you get at it. There's no shortcut. Absolute no.
Okay.
So you need to learn the basic techniques. You need to understand what culture is. You need to understand what provenance is. Perception of what's being advocated in the media it's always not what it is in reality.
True.
If you want to be a better chef or you just need to continue to tell your mind that you need to learn more.
Continue to learn more.
And you need to continue to practice more. Whatever you have learned of whatever that you did before lah. I mean, if you go example, some of the Japanese chefs, you know, who do sushi, the real traditional ones, you know, they have to go through many years of apprenticeship before they even get to touch sushi rice or even make the rice. You know, there's so many levels of that apprenticeship, you see. So unfortunately, in Malaysia, we don't really have that kind of different levels, like, you know.
Especially the younger generation, I'm sorry to say that, okay, they lack of patience.
It's true.
You know, they just want to get things like make money fast, and they don't
true.
bother, you know, about, you know, how the process, okay, all these sort of things. They shortcut stuff.
Yes and no. I can't speak for all chefs, but be it young or old. But as I said, technique, the mastering of the technique, the mastering of their ethos, you know, of their concept philosophy, you know, this is the style I like to cook. Okay, I don't want to follow the classic. It's fine. what makes you greater than anyone else is that you can be self-taught and you can believe in it, but you have to keep on making it better lah. It's not to say, oh, this is my technique, it's going to be the best. So you have to self-learn yourself.
Agreed. Like what you just mentioned about the Japanese sushi chef. One of this guy, who is the oldest 90 over years old Japanese chef in Tokyo. I watched the video clip on YouTube. Those who join him, it takes at least about 8 to 10 years, to practice how to make sushi alone. The level of energy, to press on the sushi rice, that kind of things. It takes them, many round mistake, few hundred, times of mistake, until the chef say pass. Then they can get through. I mean, wow! It's like I ask myself, will I have the kind of patience if I want to learn from this guy? I mean, it's like easily it takes like 8 to 10 years to reach the next level.
Obviously, those cultures, they still exist, I believe, but they may not be suitable for our current living standards, because this pandemic that we are living in really have changed a lot of work cultures, and we have to adapt whether we like it or not. Not so much at eating, but work culture, in terms of deliverance of the package itself, of what's needed to be done. Not saying it to be chin chai or like anything also can, but it can be precise, but it doesn't. There are other ways of looking at it, and I think people need to be flexible enough. I'm talking about the people doing the sushi or doing these things. They can be flexible, but obviously you cannot shortcut. Because shortcut is probably may not be the right thing to do.
True. So Darren, how do you handle the rising competition in fine dining business? Even in Taman Tun, I noticed lately there's a number of new ones.
Okay, so basically, when you establish your brand and your restaurant, you don't need to be bothered. We don't need to be bothered too much.
Okay.
Because, of course, I think the bottom line worry is this, that you're worried all your customers all run away to other restaurants. But because with the time that we have and the ethos that we have established ourselves has propelled us to the standing that we are, that today and tomorrow is always a progressive day. I'm not overly concerned about that as a competition. If we all can be a much more friendlier to each other and treat it not as competition, we'll be a lot more sustainable for each other.
True.
I think every concept has its own, but frankly, I don't see it as competition. Because we are selling not the same thing, we're selling very different things altogether. Further to that, unless there are similarities of price point, product, execution, and different leveling or profile, then yes, I would relate that as competition. But as of right now,
which is very rare to have everything same.
I don't see it as it is.
All right. Have you ever feel in doing something you have planned in life so far? If yes, what's the lesson learned?
From a business, I'll say it from a personal, and then I'll say it from business first, and then I'll say it from personal.
Sure.
So, from a business, the biggest failure that I went through was losing my entire kitchen team. That time was very hard to accept because whatever you think you're doing is right. You've done nothing wrong. Until today also, I've done nothing wrong. But sometimes there are certain things.
Even now, you still think it's nothing wrong.
I could have handled myself better.
Okay.
Yeah. Because when you're starting out, and as age catches on, you learn even more about yourself to be a bit more humble and a bit more, practice a bit more humility. So of course, at that time, there was a lot at stake. Money that's being spent, So obviously, along the years, I've taught myself how to be a lot more calmer and a little bit more kinder. And to try to look at it from the other side of view. So in terms of that kind of failure rate, for example, for failure in aspects of it, then this is probably one of the biggest I can think of that affected me. From a personal sense, I think sometimes you go through life where you feel you need a change.
Okay.
For whatever things that you're going through, be it money or personal life in terms of wife, kids, and or girlfriend, whatever it is. If you allow that to eat it inside of you, it will destroy you completely. And it's very important to follow your dreams, what you really believe in. And like similarly, what I did was, my pivoting moment was to literally drop off everything and fly to France, one-way ticket, and don't look back. So sometimes when you take the next leap of faith, these are the things that kind of have a certain reward. May not be so immediate, but it's a sacrifice that you make for whatever change that you feel that you need to be doing. So that's from a personal sense.
Just follow your heart.
Yeah, if you can, yes. If you can willing to let go of everything. A lot of people can't. Yeah?
It's not easy. I know.
A lot of people cannot let go of everything and then restart again.
Why it's not easy? I totally agree. Okay, because if you are able to let go everything, you need to be able to accept the amount of time you spend to build the whole thing. Let's say, for example, you spend 7 years. If you let go, that means basically you're back to the bottom and start from zero up again.
Frankly, that's why I say when you're on en route to that the so-called steps of self-satisfaction, I strongly feel that I have reached that point in my career. So and what that means is that leave the business aside, we can close it now. We can do scratch again. Take whatever that we have earned and then we just do something else.
Okay.
We are flexible in that sense. You don't have to keep on holding on to it and saying that maybe it's time to move on. Fine. If it's time to move on, we move on.
True. So Darren, a simple keyword. What success and failure mean to you?
I wouldn't say painful, but I would say it hurts for a while, but then after that, I trained my mind to don't feel anything anymore. I don't really relate myself as a chef. I just relate myself as a person that still cooks. Frankly, I evolved to be a businessman. I have not experienced ever that become personal. Not one time.